Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. Good evening to each and every single one of you. Manchester United's pursuit, they're chasing with Bruno Fernandes, has had another update. We're going to jump into that with more detail with you. We also want to cover off a really interesting rumour. It's not the first time he's been linked to Liverpool Football Club, but the Oos, as Have Hope would call him, Dembele, has been linked with a move to Liverpool, and reports suggest a bid of around £92 million has been made. We're going to jump into both of those stories, look at the validity, the likelihood, and look at it from a hypothetical situation of what if it came true, where would the players fit, etc., as we always do. Do me a massive favour though, before we do that, do me a favour, please hit the like button, please hit the share button as well. It's the very best way that you can support the channel and the platform. And as we mentioned a few times, as we go into the new season, we're going to have some really exciting and new approaches and exciting new programs and bits and pieces for you. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you all for your support. Now we'll start off with the Liverpool story, and it's an interesting one for me because we saw today a rumor about one of the big casualties from the club, Dejan Lovren, is maybe looking at leaving. Of course, they've been pursuing Bruno Fernandes themselves until he rejected them. There's been talk about other players in and out, but one that's reared its head again, surrounding Liverpool, and there could be an element of truth to this. Daniel Sturridge has been released. Although Divock Origi had an amazing end to the season, I feel Liverpool need to and want to improve their strength in depth. Now, a player like Dembele would certainly do that. He's an improvement. He's not better than Mane, and he's not better than Firmino, and he's not better than Mo Salah. In time, he could develop and become as good as those players. I think it's a great opportunity for him to relaunch his career. I don't particularly feel that his time at Barcelona has been particularly fruitful. I don't feel his time at Barcelona has enabled the world to see the very best Dembele. We know how great Jurgen Klopp is at nurturing talent. We know what a wonderful setup it is at the moment for Liverpool. And it pains me to say it as a Manchester United fan, but it's true. Everything going on at Liverpool right now is positive, and I feel that Barca are a club that are about to go into transition. Barcelona are a club that they need a replacement for Luis Suarez. Messi, of course, is not getting any younger. They haven't replaced Xavi and Iniesta moving on. And maybe Dembele wants to be part of that rebuilding process, but with some of the fans not really taken to him, some of the, that really poor miss to put Barcelona 4-0 up in the first leg of the Champions League hasn't really endeared the fans to him. And this could be an opportunity for Jurgen Klopp to land a player that we know he has chased for a long time. So, from my perspective, I don't want to see this deal happen as a Man United fan. But if I sit there and be unbiased for a moment, I think that the US would be an absolutely brilliant signing for Liverpool Football Club. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Do I think the story is true? I'm not sure. There isn't really any... Well, actually, no, I am sure. I feel that there might be some interest, but saying they've submitted a bid, I think, is too far-fetched. There's not a great body of work in the journalistic pieces that have been published, that we're able to see on the publications. So, yeah, I'm not sure. But Liverpool fans, from your point of view, would you like him? Would you like Dembele at Liverpool? Where would you like to see him play? Who is he the understudy for? Would that put the right kind of pressure on Mo Salah? Would that put the right pressure on Sadio Mane to keep the attacking element of the team on their toes, to try and keep everybody that little more consistent? And by the way, Liverpool tremendously consistent, but up in their levels again and again and again. One, to try and reclaim their current European title and get number 7, but probably more importantly than that, from Liverpool's perspective, it's going to be about how do we pit City to next season's Premier League, and is Dembele one of the missing jigsaw pieces that you need to put in? It's an interesting one. We'll jump into some of your live comments in a moment. I'm also going to talk to you about the Bruno Fernandes situation. We haven't gone through that yet. Do me a massive favour, please, everybody tuning in. Smash that like button for us. Hit the share button as well. As we always say, it's the best way that you can support us here on our platform. Now, Bruno Fernandes, we've been told that he has informed his representatives that doesn't want to go to Spurs. Kind of looks unlikely now with the players that Spurs are about to bring in money-wise. Doesn't want to join Liverpool, and Man United is where he's set his heart on going if indeed he does leave Sporting Lisbon. Reports coming from the continent today have suggested that Manchester United yesterday evening, and then as part of this morning also, came to a formal verbal agreement with Sporting Lisbon. An official bid will be submitted, and then of course all the legalities of swapping player cards, actually sitting down with the player and determining the terms of the agreement and getting everything finalised will take place. Now, these reports have come from Italian and Portuguese publications and media outlets. The British press have just they've just translated it to English and reposted it and then put links to the continent's publications. So it's one of those things where I think to myself, I don't know. I've never heard of the two journalists, the Portuguese or the Italian, that have published these stories. So I'm not sure how true they are. I'm not sure how an Italian media outlet has picked up on this story before someone based in Manchester or somebody based in Lisbon. That would stand out in my mind. But I do think this deal is close to being secured. And this would then let us... The biggest stumbling point we were told by the media in recent days is that Man United and Sporting Lisbon were some way off of their valuation. I just think it's about time now that Man United just put up, or shut up really, and get these players in. Pre-season training has started in 6 days' time. United fly out to, I think it's Australia first of all, for their first pre-season game. Of course, it's really exciting that AWB and Dan James are going to be there. But on top of that, if we could just add, I'd like 2 more before we go on tour. But if United could add 1 more player, whether that be Maguire, whether that be Diop, whether that indeed is Bruno Fernandes, I think the extra buzz, the feel-good factor, the mood would increase dramatically. And although the Man United players look in good spirits, we've seen too many times in the past 5 or 6 years, the new players not being involved in pre-season training, the existing squad not being excited about anyone new coming. It must be exciting as well. I get this. For me, if I'm a midfielder and we sign another midfield player, yes, you're worried about your starting position, but that should be, if you've got the right minerals about you, you've got the right attitude, that should be the motivation you need to push on and work harder, become more consistent and be better. Interestingly, the same as I've just said about Mane, Firmino and Salah at Liverpool, if indeed Dembele does sign. It's about you need to create an elite competitive environment to continue to compete against rivals at the highest level. So I think that's what I want Man United to create. I want players to have that mindset. But it also would be exciting. Oh, great, look, we've just signed a player that scored over 50 goals and assisted over 30 goals in the past 2 seasons. He's a United player. We have one of the best right-backs in the league now. We've got an exciting young Welshman on the wing. Maybe signing a top-class centre-back. You sell a couple, you bring him in. Instantly, maybe a couple of centre-backs his nose are put out of joint, but the majority of the squad think, yeah, we've improved here. We really have improved. And they're Ollie's signings. Ollie is genuinely happy with them coming in, which we haven't had before. And there we go. So, look, we know a lot of this is media talk. It's why we come on here to validify and validate at times. Equally, we debunk and we push down. I'm not sure about the complete body of this. We'll soon know. Tomorrow morning it might be announced that United have signed him, and then this Italian journalist deserves a lot of praise. I'm still waiting for Damasio or somebody that works for him to release this, or Simon Stone, or the best guy I think is Craig. I want to say Norwood. That might be wrong. I think he's a Man United journalist. When he tweets, you know that things are moving on forward. But yeah, it's an interesting one for me. The Bruno Fernandes deal feels like it's getting closer. United, it appears, are putting a real bid for a real centre-back as well, a top-class centre-back in Maguire. Yeah, very, very excited about that. I really, really am. But I'm going to jump into your live comments now to see what you're all saying, what you're all thinking. There is like well over 1,000 of you tuning in, which is absolutely amazing, very humbling for me. Please, can you do me a massive favour and all hit that like button for me? It's the very best way to get the video out there, trending and circulating around new people. Thank you. I know most of you are going to sit there and do that now, which is great. So I'm going to get your live comments up on my other phone. It's a lot easier than leaning across to the camera itself. Right. Let me just open this up here and see what you're all saying here. This is from Anfield Cop, who says the Fernandes deal has a bit more twists and turns, bro. I'm reading different stories. I love him or Isco at Liverpool. Do you know what, mate? As a Liverpool fan, I respect you hugely for saying that. Too many Scousers are acting like Liverpool don't really want him, that they didn't put a bid in, that they didn't go after him this summer, and then try to play him down as being an average player. And it's really nice to see an unbiased, level-headed opinion. And you could be right, there could be some twists and turns. That there really could be. Players change their mind, people change their minds, clubs change their minds. Maybe Man United are only going after him because they're convinced internally that Pogba's leaving. Maybe Pogba ends up staying and United pull out of it this year because there isn't the space in the squad, as an example. So many twists and turns could happen. You are absolutely right, my friend. You really, really are. Let's do some more of your comments here. This is from South London's Finest, who says Dembele is a baller. He was the golden child, not Mbappe. Then he came on the scene, but his attitude stinks. Yeah, look, and I've not read anything about him having a bad attitude as an example. That would be a stumbling block in a Jurgen Klopp side, because there is no way Klopp is going to allow anybody to have a bad attitude. In fact, forget Klopp for a minute. I don't think this Liverpool squad, Henderson, Milner, Gini, Salah, Mane, Alisson, we throw even more names in there, Trent, Van Dijk. They ain't going to allow somebody to come in and have a bad attitude. And that's where I think, when you look at my club, Man United, that's where I've been frustrated. And Gary Neville spoke quite candidly about this, that the senior figures in the dressing room that should be setting the examples, and the better players who should be setting the examples to the lesser individuals in the squad, it hasn't been there. There's been, and everybody's accountable for this. There's been too many players allowed to down tools, to not put the effort in, to not follow managers' instructions for far too long now at my club. That's something that isn't happening at Liverpool. But even before Klopp has to come in and blast a player, the players will self-police it. And that's the most. Do you know what? If you're a leader, do you know what, whether you're a team leader at work, a director, a managing director, tell you this now: if you can create a workforce that has the morality and the ethical approach to self-police, to see bad behaviours, poor service, bad attitudes, and to self-police and to challenge each other, to push each other to be, whether it be more customer-centric, whether it's nicer to each other, whether it's obeying by the company policies. If you can create that like Liverpool have, like City have, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Bournemouth, as examples, if you can create that, then you are a great leader. There is no doubt about it. And I think that if Dembele does have a poor attitude, I think this Liverpool team could fix it. Terry, okay, I'm not going to read that one out. Terry, what's happening with Arsenal? Oh, we will touch on that. Obviously, Adam Charles did a video this morning. By the way, if you're all tuning in now, listening to me, this morning we posted a video about Arsenal's bid for Zaha, Adam Charles' video. Please go and check it out. We did a Maguire video as well. Go and have a look at both of them afterwards if you haven't done so already. But yeah, the Zaha thing, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for Arsenal. Right? I've been doing some research. I'm not going to do a video on it just yet because I'm reading it more because the document is thick. But it's produced by KPMG, who are a huge management consultancy firm. And they've done a huge piece of work around the valuation of players and how and what and why feeds into it. Some things I didn't even consider that I'm reading about. It's so interesting. And if Aaron Wan-Bissaka has just been sold for 50 million, and a far more important and talented player in Zaha is potentially available, there's no way you're getting him for £10 million less than AWB. It's not happening. Do I personally think that Zaha is worth 100 million? No. Do I think there are better players out there than Zaha? Yes. However, you ain't getting him for £40 million. It's not happening in a month of Sundays. There's more chance of my hair growing back. Simple as that. And that's not happening. Let's do a few more of these comments here. Love your channel. I've followed you since there was 40,000 subs. That's from Funboy123. Thank you, thank you. I was gonna say my man. I'm assuming you're a man. You may be a woman, but we only 3% of our viewers are women. So I'm almost right to assume. But if you are indeed a female, I apologise. But cheers. Thank you. The Gunners are broke. Is James Ducker a reliable source? James Ducker is a good journalist, so I understand. Fairly credible. So, yeah, I don't see no reason why not. But it depends how good his source is with all people. Football has gone silly. Football's gone silly because Leicester can turn down 70 million. Well, Leicester can turn down 70 million because they're very unlikely to be relegated. And they're guaranteed 160 million a year in TV money. Plus, that's national money. Domestic. They're guaranteed another 30-40 million a year in international money. So they've got almost 200 million pound a year coming in through TV money alone. Plus their shirt sponsors, their owners are very wealthy. The club has run well. They sell out their stadia. Of course, they've got their own endorsements. They get Premier League prize money. They are turning over hundreds of millions of pounds per year. Because of TV money that's been pumped into the English clubs, they are not forced to sell players like they used to be. Back 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, if Leicester City had a player like Maguire that Man United wanted, you'd have got him for about 25-30 million. The player's head would have been turned. The club would have thought 30 million is a lot of money, you know. What that does to our revenue streams, we could reinvest 15 million in another player and you move on. You might push 40 million, maybe 50 million out. But probably not for a centre-back, if I'm being honest with you. 25-30 million. Or in and around that ballpark. But now, the club don't need the money. Leicester don't need to sell him. They don't need the money. So they whack a ridiculous price on it. And that's like anything you're selling, supply and demand. And this paper I'm reading by KPMG talks about supply and demand. They've also put together, there's loads of other things that go into the valuation of players. Marketability is one of them. Age, length, time left on their contract. Agent fees play a big part in it as well, depending on who's going to be paying them. On top of that, you have things like, you might have to factor in like compensation for time in the academy. And although some people think, oh, no, you don't need to pay any of those things, you just pay a transfer fee. The fee is increased based on multiple factors such as that. And there's much more. I've got to read it in a lot more detail to understand it. And of course, you have nationality does play a part. And it isn't about being overhyped. It's about the marketability at the club you're going to. If Harry Maguire was going to Juve, there'd be slightly less marketability in him because he would be outside of his own country. Because Maguire's not a global star. Cristiano Ronaldo, it doesn't matter. But it does if you're only sort of a national commodity. So there's all of that going on that factors into it. So £70 million in the current climate is the going rate. And it's always relative. Because the one thing that damages the one thing about the UK which can be damaging is if the economy is growing at 2% inflation per year, but salaries are only being raised at 0.5%, the value of your salary becomes less and less each year, which is detrimental to the working class people and the middle class people of the UK. But if inflation was going up at 2%, but your income was going up at 2.5%, 3%, 4%, to an extent, and unless the bubble one day bursts, it doesn't matter so much because you're keeping up with inflation. And that's all that's happening now. As the money in football increases within the sphere of football, the clubs become richer, they charge more for players. But it's relative because they're charging 70 million for a player that, yes, 10 years ago was worth 35 million, but clubs have over double the money they used to. So no one's really losing out. The only areas I wish they did more in, I wish they made ticketing and travel cheaper for fans because they could mitigate that. And that's where I do think they should look at transfer fees and agent fees and go, hang on, we're pumping all this money around each other, we're making each other rich, but the people that are actually, the reason why we're able to become so rich and so wealthy and have all these luxuries is because of the paying fan. What can we do back for them? That's what I would like to see happen, but I don't know. I don't know if it ever will. But listen, I appreciate, we had a super chat here actually. It says financial fair play should investigate Arsenal £6 million spending. It's huge. Bit of banter there. We like it. Listen, I appreciate you all tuning in as ever. Do me a massive favour. Smash the like button. Hit the share button as well. We'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.